Yeah, so yesterday we had, I was showing them going from priming your board and actually creating like color breakup in the primer itself. Because even whenever you are putting, micas in this stuff, like you can pile it in heavy and it'll appear opaque, but you're still technically getting that light going all the way down, bouncing off the surface and coming back through. So like right here, you can see like the really defined stuff. Here where it's a little more just like color blocked, like you can pick that up. This one, yeah, no, I can see that variance. It just gives this like depth to your resin. So we had a contamination issue. That's how all of us have this. I'm pretty sure the resin I used yesterday, because I like to try to use like stuff that's already been open for training, but you never know. Yeah. So it's always a little bit of a risk, But at the same time, it's kind of a good thing to have happen in class because this can very well happen in the real world.
So you did the gold flake.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this was like a start to finish, and you got that look just all from yesterday?
Yeah.
So did you use that the reloaded, like the fast cure single shot?
I wouldn't use the fast cure for like designing a countertop. I mean, it'd be good if you're like stacking layers quickly. You could totally pull it off. Like I've used fast cure Mach 5 to do the same thing, where it's like you want to like color block and get certain visual stuff established. And I like working in layers whenever I can anyway, But like everything here, this is one layer. Like this was just one layer yesterday.
One layer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
I missed the sauce yesterday.
Nah, man, he's just in time. I'm cracking open the sauce now.
No, man, I feel like I'm telling you, man. But when people want their floors, they want them yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But I'm gonna soak in everything, man. But that I really can't, because I thought that, because like on his, right, like that gray, it looks like it's kind of like
On top?
How'd you do that?
So whenever you have these pigments fighting for their position on top of each other or underneath, or just like you try to put two things together, like you can see a lot on here as you turn it, like certain ridges have like an iridescent peak to it, right? And that's because that mica has a really fine micron to some of itself, right? So like all of this creamy tone, that like kind of silvery, like iridescent shimmer that you see whenever you do this,
Yes.
that's in that creamy tone to begin with. But because it's so light, it wants to sit on top of everything. So whenever you use a mica that has a good micron variance in it, like some heavy, some light, you're automatically going to get some of it's going to sink because it's heavy, some of it's going to go up to the surface because it's light. So you can take less than 1/16 of an inch of material and make it look like it has so much more depth, right? And people don't really think about it this way when we're approaching this, but like we're essentially making an optical illusion. That's all it is. Like we're trying to take this stuff and make it look like natural stone and like it has a lot of depth to it, right? Because just like when you walk up on a natural stone countertop, I mean, you're looking at that piece that it could be 3/4 of an inch with a, a cheated little lip on it, or it could be like a full 1.5 inches, or I mean, hell, sometimes you even see them like 2.5. And it's thick stone, so like you're gonna get like that depth whenever you look at it. So if you take your very base layer and you start to throw in these like deep undertones to it, just that color breakup, right? Like through here, I can see where his is established. You can see through here on mine, where mine's established, and it's just like this slight difference of like this dark tone underneath that mica.
So did you do the light cream one first, and then you kind of like a whole thing, and then you kind of went in with your brown?
So this one was like, I laid down, there's two different versions of the mother of pearl. So we did one that was just the mica, and then one that was the mica with a little bit of ink. Because whenever you're on a job site, it's always good to know if you need a liquid pigment and you don't have it, ink behaves a little bit different than dye, and it's not as opaque, but any India ink you can use in your epoxy. So like this way, like you can go to Michael's, Joanne Fabric, Hobby Lobby, like any craft store, and you have a resource like on the fly. So years as a special effects artist, it was always like, you have something that you have to solve right now. They wanted to shoot it 5 hours ago. We didn't tell you we needed this rig, but we need this shit, right? So figure it out. So it's just always this problem solving. You have to be like a MacGyver kind of mind, you know, where you can take anything and make it do what you want it to do. It's form over function and function over form, you know? So we're trying to find that happy medium in between where like the function of this stuff is to like put a new coating down, you know? The form of it is what we're really like playing with now. Fine tuning the process so you can get better results that just makes people go like, how the hell did you do that? And like, I mean, just going about it the right way. This is one layer, one. Yeah, so you put another flood coat on this and put a little bit more like color information in there. I mean, like I like to always have my last coat of epoxy be primarily clear. But you can take advantage of laying down another layer and trace over certain things and have it sit even higher up. And you're creating even more of a field of depth as you're looking into it.
So if this is a floor, right?
Yeah.
You would go over this with, you'd flood it with a clear coat and say you
Preferably,
wanted to,
yeah.
And then you'd go in and you would, to make those, you said to make those stand out, you would do what again? You would go back over them like what?
Literally, yeah, take, like in this case, we're using the Doc Martin ink. And I would mix up mostly clear with a little tiny cup of, you know, epoxy and that ink. I would let it sit for a while and let it like kind of gel up. Like it's actually like starting to set, right? And that's when you take it, get it on the stick and trace back over certain veining. And it will just have this look where like, especially if you have like slight variances off from it, it just gives this illusion of like that vein is like diving down into the stone and also popping up to the surface in spots. So when you look at it, the brain automatically is seeing like these like fine lines, and as you move and look at it from different angles, you can see it shifting in that field of perspective. So it's just automatically like your first layer is giving this like field of view, like a field of depth. It's optical illusions, that's all it is. I mean, like if you take a pencil and you put it in a cup of water, you know how like you look at it and like it really messes with your perception of reality because it's refracting light. Well, we're suspending this stuff in a liquid plastic, and when it's dry, it still gives that like refracted light that we get whenever we have a shiny like wet surface. So we're kind of like, we're messing with the pencil pretty much. We're taking this refracted light and this field of depth and really like fine tuning it so it just looks like it has so much more depth to it. Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's a completely different approach.
It's just like, you know, it's a lot to take in, like,
Yeah.
you know,
I
'cause
mean,
I'm trying to like,
honestly, man, like it's
in a good way.
My brain's broken, like, and I have to keep using it all the time or it turns in on itself. So I just try to spend as much time as I can thinking about this stuff and like just reworking it again and again and again in my brain, you know? Thank you.
Yeah, yesterday when we was in Florence, you know, this shit out of good.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? Since we are waiting for Stefan and another student, we can actually get you caught up. We can start on a board for you.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
There's another board.
You got it?
Bye,
Another
Judy.
board over there.
Yeah. All right. So if you would like to do a different color scheme, that's totally fine. Or if you want to stick with like the same basic color scheme we were using here.
I want to go down there. Yeah, that's not right there. Where you got a little bit more room.
Here. do have another tarp too if we need. There we go. That'll be good. All right. So I know you have experience. How much experience do you have with countertops and floors and stuff like that?
So when I first started, it was pretty much it was with a big company. They pretty much just did like Sinceras, like RTZs, and just practical like quartz flakes. So with countertops and the decorative kind of side of the epoxy world, I'd probably maybe say 3.5 years.
All right.
But I want you to talk to me like I don't know shit.
Hey, all right.
You know what I
I
mean?
like that. Actually, I mean, we have like a complete and total novice. That sounds mean. Somebody that's just new, you know. The word novice sounds mean. I just realized that. But also, like, no experience.
I have zero, nothing.
And I like
This is
that
all
because
new to me.
people get locked in a way of thinking really quickly. And what happens is, like, you go into something new and you're looking to people with experience to help guide you. And unfortunately, people with the best intentions will tell other people not to do something or something can't be done.
Based off of there.
And exactly. And more often than not, somebody else was teaching them and taught them, you can't do this, right? But as I sit there and I think about the material, if I'm like, well, no, like, why wouldn't it work? And I can't get an answer, like a legitimate answer why it won't work, then I try it. And more often than not, it works. And then people go, how'd you do that? And I was like, remember that thing you said that you can't do? I did it.
That's why that you know that epoxy, you guys know that epoxy bronze thing. Like every time we try to like actually someone asks like a real question on there, they just get like swarmed.
Yeah, they get
in
swarmed.
on.
It-
Like
What page is that?
the epoxy polishing guides.
Yeah.
You know, they just get like, I'll be like, damn, I don't want to go in here and ask a question.
Dude, it's so odd. Like, I figured going into this industry, because like I fell into this, man. Like the way that this worked out for me was I've worked with these materials before in the special effects field, and once I learned that it was being used, this was 2013, that was being used on countertops and floors, every so often I would just be like, epoxy floor,
So
epoxy countertop, and just check in.
So I seen that. I know you were making, you know, like the sculptures and stuff. So you were putting the epoxy in the like I said, dude. I've been for like, you know, at least three and a half. I've been basically as long, pretty much when they opened that shop over there.
Yeah.
You've been their top guy ever since, and it's always been here like the word Madden Wolf. So I've known like as long as pretty much
Like,
they opened that
like
shop.
some like,
So I'm trying
I'm a
not to, like-
cryptid. I'm
like,
like some
yeah.
like mythical creature.
No, so I'm trying not to like fan out, you know, it's pretty cool, like, you know, but so to ask, so you were putting epoxy like on.
So everything
walls.
over there is concrete. It's all like, that's actually an in-ground pool system, and like you can take big foam blocks and make grottos, and then like you coat it in concrete. And I just took a company that's based in West Virginia, I believe, or might be like on the border right before West Virginia, and they wanted to offer us some materials to play with and see what we could do with. So as soon as I got my hands on the system, I was like, with a little bit of, you know, like modifying it, this will work perfect for what I want it to do. So like in this case, because I'm sitting there using something that I'm unfamiliar with, I, you know, go on the side of caution, and instead of using water to catalyze any of that, is all liquid acrylic. Like I had multiple 5-gallon pails of just straight acrylic.
Like pigmented?
No, just watery. Actually, I mean, let's see, where is, aha. Essentially this, because acrylic's always, it's pretty much the same thing. It's very rare that you find something that is an acrylic primer, catalyst, like people will call this liquid all kinds of different things.
So what do you think, what was the advantage of that? Like you were able to kind of just mold it better?
This is almost like, what's the best way of putting it? It's helping it be more plastic than it is concrete. Like it's acrylic, you know, like you think acrylic nails, like just all the stuff that you've handled in life that's made out of acrylic, it's plastic. So this is like, this is liquid plastic, you know? And that just needs a liquid catalyst to begin this process of curing. So it already has plasticizers and polymers in it. So just add even more.
How much more do you add, like on that wall? It's a big wall. How much do you think acrylic went?
Oh, at least 15 gallons.
15 gallons.
Yeah, because at first I was doing some water, some acrylic, and then I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just use the acrylic?
So you just mix it all
Yeah,
in the
just
bucket,
straight acrylic and just mix it up just like I was using water and
try it on the wall?
do that shit. Like, I mean, go feel it. Like,
Oh, so you mix the aggregate and like the cement
Yeah.
stuff with acrylic.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of mixing with water, like if I'm doing a concrete pad.
I literally, instead of putting water in, I just put acrylic,
Oh.
like just straight acrylic.
Because I want to do, I don't know if you've ever seen, you know how the fire pit's like in the middle of the living room?
Mhm.
They do it as like a natural rock and like carve out of it.
Yeah.
You do. I want to try something like that in the future.
Yeah.
And a bunch of I'm from Ukraine, so a bunch of European guys, they
Yeah,
do a lot
Ukraine
of it.
has like a bustling scene for decorative coatings.
Yeah, they do a lot of it, and I always see them add this white liquid
Yep.
to the mix. So it's probably that.
It's just making it more plastic. That's all it is. Because I mean, once you get into like carve mix, like you're already like, you're getting into plasticizers and polymers and everything.
Yeah, because I want to do one of those walls eventually, just for myself.
Right.
See how it turns out.
Yeah.
Because I did it before on the outdoor kitchen. Instead of going with like a rock, I just put the concrete on it and carved it out, made it kind of like bricks, and it came out pretty nice.
Yeah.
But it would set up too quick, and
Right.
I bet you if I used that instead, it would have came out a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, there's dedicated carved mixes.
Yeah.
You know that like it has that slow, like it'll start to firm up. And like when you're pushing on it, you know, like it feels like it's really firm, but then you take a fine point on a tool and it'll just cut through it like butter.
Yeah, well, the way I was doing, I was going over cinder block, and you kind of have to use a fast set product, so it will bite into the cinder block a lot stronger.
Right.
But
Makes
it
sense.
still gave me a little bit of playroom, but as soon as the sun hit it, it would set up quick.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
one
yeah.
wall, I had like an hour to play with it. One wall had 15
And then in the
minutes.
sun, yeah, like no, not the same thing at all. It's the heat.
Yeah.
Exothermic process. Like once, you know, these materials start that warming up, it's just making the, what's up? All right, we got Stefan, and we have one more coming.
Wow.
So you're talking about that? You're talking about doing traffic, like you put this
What's going on, man?
Yeah.
We're live, by the way.
Yeah.
Hi, world.
Hello.
That's kind of what he did, but he did it like, and like the circles is foam before it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the like the big swoopy clouds, where like you can stand in the corner and like it's, you know, like there's a gap. That's I took the same kind of like there's little like aluminum I-beams that they use instead of studs. Well, it is a stud. It's a metal stud. I took that and I like cut it like a spine, like I gave it vertebrae, and then I was able to like free flex it. And like there's no real structural anything to it at that point. It was just to have an armature going from one side of the wall. I anchored it into the stud in the wall, got this twisty movement, went to the other corner, hit it in the stud in the wall, and then where that met, I just packed this, like the initial mix in that system is like a heavy aggregate. It's got strands in it, and it's like so plastic. Like I managed to get some of it underneath my glove, and like it like ate my skin, like because it was turning it to plastic. Like it'll eat you, you know. That's how you know it's good, though. Like that's how you know that shit's gonna
Mix
work.
everything with MEK.
So yeah, that was the first step of just like getting that form, and then like adhering it to the wall, you know. And like at this point, it's like every layer that you do, you just want to put that tension point, because like I can go over there and hang on that thing. I can hang on it and bounce, and like it's not going anywhere. And it's literally, it's foam and concrete. That's the actual structure to it. Like that piece of metal is not doing anything. And it's just by taking like that weight distribution and just spreading it out more and more. So like as it goes to the wall and meets, like, and then there's a carve, the pretty stuff over it, but there's like a good few feet that I just like, it's touching here. I try to get that tension all the way out as far as you can get it. That's kind of like how you can take drywall anchors, you know, and you'll see them rated for like, this will hold 50 pounds, this will hold 75 pounds. And it's literally, it's going into drywall, which is not really a strong material whenever you start bending it the wrong way. But by taking that pressure point and putting it across a large area, it takes more weight before it fails. So same idea, you know, I'm just taking that weight distribution and getting it as far out as I can.
So that's what you did first, right?
Yeah.
And then, how did you? So you ended up. Was Corey the one that like got you into? Did you meet Corey like before, or like after you do with like the epoxy? Or did you meet Corey and you kind of like?
So like my first experience with this stuff was in a whole different field. It was special effects and like prop making. That was actually like I had used epoxies for like laminating layers and molds and some casting, but I never really used it as like a coating or like really done a creative casting with it where you can like work in layers and essentially intrinsically paint that piece. Like you brush layers in and it's like you think, you know, you have the negative space in the mold, you're filling it. So that first layer you're putting in when you view this piece is going to be the first layer that you're looking at. So like you can play with that and know that like, okay, in this case we're doing kryptonite panels, right? So like these big crystal like chunks, just big, like literally like you feel like you're in a cave or something walking up because of just how big it is. And the whole idea was the first layer that went in was clear. It was just a thin brush. And then as we built up the next layers in that, we put more and more green in it. So like as the layers build up, it becomes more and more opaque. So you have like multiple translucent layers of different variances of green before you start going into like more solid colors. And when you're looking at it, it's only like this deep, but it feels like it goes on for feet, you know?
So your metallics, like if you do a garage, like what are they taking like 4 or like 5 days? Like,
No, I mean shit, man. Really, if you're doing them metallic properly, it should be like 4 or 5 days anyway, unless it's a small space. Like you really think about like how much cleaning and like environmental control you have to have. Dude, most of the days that I put into a build, like a project, is prep work. Of course, you got to do that prep right. I'm sure you know, like if you don't prep it right, it's probably going to let go. So like you might as well go above and beyond and sleep well at night, not worrying about if that shit's gonna let go. Like whenever I'm like prepping and I'm getting like chunky aggregate, and some guys are like, that's too much, man. You don't have to do that. I'm like, you don't have to do that. If I don't, I can't sleep. Like I literally, as I'm dozing off, I see images of things that I'm like, fuck, is that gonna fail one day? Like, so I don't like that.
I sit there, like everything that I try to figure out, like if I have a project or some kind of art project or some kind of methodology to something that I have to do, nighttime is when I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll lay there.
It's the
and
ADHD.
all of a sudden, the solution will come.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You know,
Yeah.
it's that moment before wake and sleep that you get that.
Dude, when I was in my early 20s, I was doing like the straight up like Edison Tesla type thing of like working, we're talking 24, 26, 28 hours straight on shit. Getting to that point where it's like, I have to sleep, and I would just put something like my keys in my hand and just sit down in a chair, and I would give myself enough time for me to doze off, my hand goes limp, it drops the keys, and it was like my body was trained to just stand right back up and just keep going. It's like, I've got my 30 seconds of sleep in, okay. And it worked, and it got really weird too. Like, I mean, I've definitely pushed the limits on how many waking hours you're supposed to have. And like these days, people see me like, if I get in that work mode and that hyper focus kicks in, I'll go for like 26, 30 hours straight until I'm like, I need to sleep. And I crash out for 10 hours, and then I do another 30 hours. So it's like across 2 days of work, you're getting like, what, a week and a half of work in? Like you can pile in that work if you're able to just work like that, but it's not exactly good for you. And like, I'm just trying to take a detriment that I have to deal with and make it like an advantage, you know? Like if I can't sleep, if I'm laying down, if my brain's just gonna run on something, I might as well be on my feet and actually getting something done.
No, it's like that for me too, because it comes in spurts.
Yeah,
You know, it comes in spurts.
absolutely.
You literally felt for 3, 4, and you might have to sit on your fucking hands for how many weeks. So that's when I'll rest then. You know what I mean? That's how.
I kind of don't rest. I'm trying to get better about it because I'm in my mid 30s now, and I can definitely feel a difference compared to like late 20s. Like there's a big difference, you know?
Man, y'all better not start talking like that, man. Y'all start talking like that, y'all gonna start feeling old.
Well,
Well, that's the
actually-
thing, man. Like scientifically, like once you're past 27, 28, your cells are no longer replicating faster than they're dying. So just biologically speaking, you are pure, like it is pure maintenance and fighting off death once you hit your late 20s. Everything is downhill from there, and it's your goal to just make it as a slow decline as you can.
How old he's 21 and he already feels it. I just turned 26.
Ah, man. Oh,
I've been working
Lord.
since 12, so.
Give me 1 second, gentlemen. 1 second. Hi, Mike. Huh? Oh, man. All right, so I've learned something about YouTube Lives. It's the first 15 minutes or so. They're like, it's being monitored. It's an AI, and it listens for words. So if, like, as long as it's like the first 15 minutes, and as long as I don't drop any really offensive, like you have to get at like some straight up like really offensive stuff that should not be said.
He's paying for the. He's paying for the.
She a mama father, but that's what helped me the most. I would see chiropractors, and like chiropractors would put my disc back in, or you know, my spine had no curve to it,
You hear this man?
and
He
they're
said
put
he's
it back,
over here.
and it would not work. That's
Said he's
the next
21
day,
years
we did the
old.
same thing.
He needs to
She
go to a
went
massage
She
therapist.
relaxed it, all my muscles, everything, and it's been a game changer ever since.
What time
And I
is
go
it?
every month. Every month I just go. Just
What
for a
time?
checkup,
What time did you say you go over there?
like 10 p.m.
I asked him if he's getting a happy ending. He said no.
Nah.
10 p.m. Madden.
After that massage, you
He's
feel
getting
so
that.
good. You don't need
Come
that.
on now.
I bet you do feel good. At 10 p.m.
Madam, you ever get massages?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I have to get like sports therapy massages because like I have a lot of scar tissue and like nerve damage and shit.
I get like the pressure points, like massage therapist. I don't go to a masseuse. I go to a massage therapist.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like with the needles and the pins and shit?
No.
Oh,
She just
okay.
like she focuses on your
Release
pressure
points,
Like she
yeah.
go with her elbow full force into it. That thing does not feel good at the moment.
Dude, I've got, is it out here?
My buddies would go there.
I have this little metal tool that I travel with now. My wife got it for me because she's been watching me over the last 5 years. I've been breaking up the scar tissue in the back, right? Like I blew my rotator cuff out in like 2012 and had no clue because I was young. I was in my early 20s, and I thought I was still made out of rubber at that age and whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. So I'm opening a stone mold. It's airlocked, and I'm just like, I'm already behind on the project. It's for school. It's for a grade. I'm like cracking this thing open. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. And I'm like, oh man, if I just wrench it real hard. And I went, "Argh!" And as soon as I did that, right here, and here, went pop, pop, pop. And my arm just fell limp after that. I was like, oh, that hurts. That hurts. I got to get this done. I'll deal with this later. And I never dealt with it. I just used my arm differently for like a decade, right? Which started to tear this muscle instead. So like randomly I'd be doing something and I'm like, why does my shoulder hurt so bad? And I've already got an arthritic neck and jaw. Like this is, the way the specialist put it was I have the jaw and neck of a 90-year-old, right? He was like, I don't understand how you function day to day of a 90-year-old.
A 90-year-old?
90-year-old. Like I had to go to the specialist because I clenched my jaw in my sleep.
I can see
And-
how built up it is here.
Yeah. So like most people, their tension displaces here. Mine displaces here. And they're called the suboccipitals, and they're a postural muscle, so you never are not using them, right?
Yeah.
They stayed so tight for so long, they started to die from lack of blood flow. So my body then went emergency and started like forcing new capillaries into it, which creates like this little secondary nerve endings that like are then integrated into your nervous system.
That you didn't grow up with.
And you just feel your
Yeah.
muscle dying more. Like it's insane. I go through like injections. Like I haven't done them in a few years, but I also have like a mouthpiece that I sleep with now.
Yeah.
So my back teeth can't make a connection.
Well, my wife, she had that same issue.
Yeah.
And one night I was just sitting on the couch.
Could you hear it
She was
grinding?
like, yeah, I could just like a.
Yeah.
and like she was subconsciously doing it. It was, you know, happening. And
It's a
she
PTSD
had-
response, is what it is.
Yeah, and she has that pain.
Yeah.
Here, and I'll
Yeah.
have, you know, massage it or whatever. But what happened was I just kind of had the idea. I was like, you ever heard of like, you know, that Invisalign stuff, where it, like realigns your teeth?
Yep.
She did that, and she hasn't had the pain since.
Yeah, it makes sense. You change the way that the bite is coming
Or
together.
it moved the jaw
Like
forward.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Tore my
Yeah.
muscles.
Anytime people have bruxism, it's, you know, it's this.
It hurt hella bad.
It's literally, it's usually from like childhood PTSD stuff, and your nervous system does not completely like power down and do the maintenance run when you're sleeping. There's a part of your waking mind that is still awake and still functioning because it feels like it has to be on high alert forever.
Yeah, it's like a cat's ear.
Yeah, bingo.
While you're sleeping,
When you're
the thing is
sleeping
just
and your
like-
dog or cat are still sitting there like, but they're asleep.
Yeah.
Same thing, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so this, you know, I was 25, I finally went to that specialist because it was so bad, like not to be overly graphic or dramatic, but like it was ruining my life and there was no quality of life. It's a thief of joy. So I was really close to just checking out, like, because what's the point, right? And it just so happened that one day my wife and I were sitting at a wedding with this woman and she like looks over at me and she was like, "Oh, don't you look happy?" And Krista, my wife, was like, "Oh yeah, his jaw probably hurts." And then like, she's like, "Do you clench your teeth at night?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." What an odd question to just randomly ask. And she was like, "Oh, the dentist I work with is also a specialist in this sleep disorder, like, 'cause this is a sleep disorder, right? And he's like one of the few like leading specialists on this study in the country, right?"
She's
This,
sitting right over
this,
there.
this random little dentist office in Pennsylvania. I'm like, all right, okay. So I go in, dude, I'm 25. Like, he hooks me up. He like tracks my movement. He puts this thing on my shoulders and like glues a magnet to my top teeth, and it has me move a certain way. And he's like tracking the movements of the magnet across this like field, you know? And then he took the magnet off there and put it on my bottom teeth and had me move my jaw. And he's like, "All right, let me go pull the results and I'll be right back in." He didn't come back in for like 35 minutes, dude, which is never a good thing. Like, it's never good. So I'm just like, oh boy. And he walks in and he was like, "All right, I've been doing this for 30 years. You were easily in the top 10 worst I have ever seen. You have the jaw and neck of a 90-year-old, and I don't understand how you function day to day." And he was like, "How do you do it?" And I was like, "Well, nobody told me this wasn't normal, so I just became aware that this is not normal."
You grew into it.
Yeah, it's just my reality, you know? And like I told him, like I used to eat Excedrin like candy, right? Because it's like I always have a headache. I mean, even today, like right now, I have a headache. It's a constant thing. And he was like, "No, man, like this isn't normal." And I was like, "Well, I grew up watching stressed out mom just fucking eat ibuprofen all the time." So I figured this is normal, right? So yeah, I had to go through all these injections and make a custom bite guard for when I sleep so my back teeth don't touch. And it's kept the tension here instead of back here. But like these will never be the same. And I spent so much time clenching that fatty pad, that like the TMJ right there, it's just slipped. So it's just bone on bone over here. Yeah. Yeah, so every day is literally just agonizing BS all day. So I just try to keep my head wrapped up in something else, you know? All right,
Well, this is a good field to do that.
anyway, sorry, live viewers. Since we're waiting on one more student, we're gonna get you caught up to this. So, you ever use this?
That no.
This is the Zenzer 123. And this is the water-based, right? Usually people tell you with undercoats and like bonding primers, you want to put it down and then you want to wait, some say 4 hours, some say all the way up to 24 hours. This stuff, you can literally put down and then pour. You do not have to let this dry all the way.
On for countertops or for
Countertops.
not a floor.
Yeah, no, I mean floor, you're getting into like, you know, proper surface prep,
This
and
makes
then,
sense.
you know, doing, me personally, I always like to start with an MVB just because it's formulated to bite in. Even if like moisture mitigation is not a factor, it's just knowing that adhesion is there. Like I like that. So you can actually do the same general idea on floors, right? People don't really think about that MVB as like a layer, but it is a layer. And because it's there, if you're doing an independent MVB, like you don't want to put any kind of tint in it, right? Because as soon as you tint it, you're taking the efficacy of it, dropping it from like 25 PSI resistance down to about like 20, 18, 20. Like it definitely degrades it, right? But if you're not really worried about the moisture mitigation and more so using it just as like that adhesion factor, there's no reason to not throw tint and throw mica in it, but you can take these jars of dye. I'm sure you're familiar with some people call them color pods.
Yeah.
You have white, black, gray, like there's a decent, variety of colors, and you can special order pretty much any color.
So let me ask you this, right? Flaking into an MVB.
Right.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can. Technically you are, like if you're doing a grout coat of MVB, then you're dropping a body coat and you're flaking directly into that. The whole point of the MVB is to create a rigid layer that is bitten in, right? And it's like both the body, like the actual body of it, and the fact that like it was applied a certain way to really bite in, that's working in tandem to hold back that pressure, right? So if you throw flake in it and you're interrupting these chains essentially, like this resin that's creating a layer, and you start throwing flake in it, and it's like actual like body at that point is being reduced down, because it's like interrupted, it's less efficient. So as long as you aren't worried about like true moisture mitigation, like, I mean, let's be real, like if you walk in and you really see a slab and you're worried about moisture mitigation, it's probably better just to walk away. Like, it's probably not worth it,
So you think you still get any mitigation protection at all, or do you think it kind of reduces it kind of around like 2018?
Yeah, that's like, it's like there's data out there on it. Like it just lowers the efficacy of it.
Okay.
Which, I mean, MRAP is like one of the higher PSI MVBs out there anyway. So really, whenever you tint it, you're knocking it down to about where the other MVBs on the market sit, So because it is such an efficient product, like as long as I'm not worried about moisture, like I absolutely use that layer, and I put this color breakup in it. Because again, we're essentially playing with light. Like that's all that's happening. Like what you see, like all the depth in these boards, I mean, you can see how thick it is. You know this shit. Like it's thin, but you're giving this base tone that like visually becomes information, right? So if you can kind of like map things out as you're doing this too. Actually, here, do you mind if I put this here?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Justin's sitting there like, come on, man, I got this camera up here. Put it to use. So, I want to make sure you're able to get your hands on it. So if we're taking the Zinser, and that's already just straight white. And that's a good color to have as your base because white reflects light, right? And again, that's all this is. We have light traveling through our micas, through our dyes, through all of this stuff, hitting this and coming back out. That's how we're getting that depth and that definition. So that is going to reflect more and appear brighter than just this medium brown right here. So, yep, there's white with a little bit of color breakup. Let's see.
Especially that's the one layer out there, just like, one layer of the brown. Just the guy, he's a man. Should've brought my Ray-Ban glasses before this all this.
Oh, you got those ones?
I ordered them, they didn't come in time.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. No. Yeah, I'm afraid of technology, to be completely real. I'm one of those paranoid guys that wants to live in the woods.
Go ahead and show the camera.
Oh, yeah. Bullseye. Zinser. 1, 2, 3.
You're gonna wait it.
water-based, water-based. So you can literally just, and I'll show you over there. I don't know if you've seen those countertops since we've had time to re-pour them. Because when we opened up, it was just like down to the wire, you know, and like Dan's hands was over there slamming those out. And most of it was poured in fast cure epoxies, which is not easy to design in.
Y'all did that remote file?
Yeah. Yep. And then we spent so long with it, you know, just as they were, like whenever we first opened, and eventually I was down here around my birthday, and it's kind of like a birthday present. I got to pour some new countertops. You know, when you really enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So even if you put this stuff on kind of heavy, and you have areas that are like pulled up, right? You can pour resin on this. Like, just so you know, bulletproof resins does not stand by this statement. I'm sure I don't want to implicate anybody in anything. This is me in my own experience. It doesn't give you an issue if this is not completely dry and you're pouring on it. None. Like, live viewers, sorry, I'm taking a little detour over here real quick. So over here, it made sense, since we have so much countertop space, we might as well put a bunch of different looks down, right? And just break it up. So I try to have like a nice variance. Like, people usually, Labradorite's like one of the things that people know me for. I knew that I needed at least 3 layers to do it really well, but I tried to go for it in 2. To be honest, looking at this in the daylight, in my opinion and my judgment of my own work, I think this is subpar. But when you look at it at night, I don't know if you saw it, like I posted a video of this section, and if you're standing here, it's just dark, right? And then as you move, and that light from the side comes and hits like all of these iridescent and like reflective pigments, because my very base layer is a super shiny silver. So like, it's literally reflecting light off of it, like a frosted mirror almost, right? So as you do this and move around, you can see that light catch it more and more, and like, it literally looks like it's glowing. Like, when I walked past, I stopped and I went like, what pigment did I use in this that glows? And then I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't, hold on. How is this happening? Let's see, where is it? So like, it's dark, right? You can see some of it kind of glowing. Watch this. As it comes around and it catches that light. Like, some of these ridges like straight up look like they're glowing. It doesn't even show up as intense on the camera, but it's wild. And that's all from using that reflective mica on my base layer. So all the other visual information on top of that is mostly just, there's some color shift on that base layer. There's that really reflective silver. And then everything after that was just blue dyes and like some of the more ghost interference, blue favoring interference micas. They're technically color shift, right?
So you did the gray, what was it, the shiny mica?
Yeah.
Was it nothing special?
I mean, no, it's, I'm not sure if Corey has it. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
Like, I mean, we have the luxury shimmery, like, they're pretty reflective, but there's this one silver mica out there on the market. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure Brandon Shiver has it. It's Silver Alchemy and Gold Alchemy. Like, dude, that Gold Alchemy is nuts. Like, it is a fantastic pigment. And the Silver Alchemy, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I won't 100% say it, but I'm pretty sure.
So Silver Alchemy,
Mhm.
and then you did, let's see if I can try to,
Now you gotta remember, there's translucent blue in the layers over it.
I'm not even gonna try to guess.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, I'll show you the pigments over there too. Like, a lot of them, you know, Corey has the the iridescent blue and iridescent purple, and like they're not so much like they don't shine or look like they're milky, you know, like they're milky white, and then whenever the light hits it right, it just gives you this bright pop of like blue or violet. Like you get into those interference micas, there's a wild world of them. And if you get into the automotive side of the micas, like that's where you start finding some really cool stuff. Everything, like if you ever see people in comments going, what pigment is that? I can almost guarantee you it came from an automotive supplier. Like that same stuff that they use on those super expensive show cars, it's just mica. It's mica. It's mica being suspended in the automotive paint. There's nothing special about it that, you know, it keeps it purely coming out of a spray gun. You can just mix it in. Yeah. Oh, this one. Apparently people are a big fan of this. So this is like, so people love the nebula galaxy kind of look, but like more so, it's too loud for a lot of people's taste, as much as they like it. So this is like, it's supposed to be a granite inspired nebula. I call it galactic granite. So like if you look through like all the super fine interference lacing, it gives this uba tuba look. Like it's the really popular stone. I believe it comes from like Brazil, somewhere in South America. And it's like, it's mostly black and it has like these flecks of green and gold. And so I use those interference micas to get that same just kind of like ghostly lacing, and then try to keep everything kind of directional and looking like something you could find in a stone, right? So it's definitely galaxy, really nebula inspired, but it's supposed to look like it could have actually happened in the stone.
So how many layers is this one?
One. Well, no, two, because I had to flood it out. And I took that second layer, I did a little bit of just like these really holographic glitters right here. That was in the final layer. And all of this, I literally put the micas in my hand like that. And then I did the Salt Bay. Just, and put it exactly where I
Show
wanted.
me that again.
Like that.
Are you talking about just for the glitter for all of it?
All of it.
The salt bed,
Mhm.
and then you just kind of just brush, like manipulate it with the brush.
Yeah, chip brush. I'll show you how to take a chip brush and, you know, keep it from shedding into your stuff. Literally as simple as de-shedding it and then running super glue around it and give it a little while to dry. And you get far less bristles, and you're not spending like $4 to $5 per nice paintbrush to just get it gummed up with resin and throw away. But yeah, most of that is just, there's a little bit of spray paint in there, a little bit.
Spray paint or that like mica?
No, like actual like Rust-Oleum paint.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too. Is your actual name like?
It's Raoul Duke, man.
Really?
Yeah. Let's talk whenever I'm not live. I don't want people knowing my real name. I'm actually.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you are live. Is that like a mic?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
My legal name is Peter English. At least that's what a bunch of cops got whenever I was in my late teens. Dude, my kid starts asking me about like whenever I was a teenager, and I'm like, man, I literally have to like research statute of limitation laws. Like, like, some of these things I might not ever speak about.
The ratings beyond.
So now we have a white surface, which automatically is going to reflect more light. Like think of whenever you have your camera on your phone, kind of like you tap something, it focuses on it, and it automatically adjusts the brightness, that ISO. It has to adjust and like dull everything down to really like take in a white surface, right? Because it's just so much brighter than whenever you just have that brown. So you got your white. So now you can take everything from spray paints to, let's see, what did we use yesterday? I believe we took, it was the Rapid Set Primer? It was straight acrylic. Oh, there it is. I forgot I had that. Sorry, it's been a long day. Long day already. This stuff, this is the secret sauce right here. Once I figured out that, you know Ileana Savita Art?
For the Venetian.
Yeah, she was
Yes,
like
I think so.
the sponsor for the Venetian plaster class. She was the one that put it together. Yeah, she is one of my absolute favorites. Like, she has just this eye for it, and like her process, she does a lot of it painting by hand, and then uses like epoxy to like seal it, or she'll do like foils, a layer of epoxy, some hand done design, and then another layer of epoxy, and has taken that hand painted and like working it in to make it look natural. So once I figured out that's what she was doing, I started thinking of ways to use it and get just more and more depth, or even push it further and further into realism. Like there's that the piece that's been getting shared a lot on videos. It's based off of amethyst, and most people, whenever they hear amethyst, they think of that purple or that pink. But like a lot of amethyst actually has like a lot of green and like white in it, and even like little pops of gold. So I made this piece because my wife owns a salon, and we had a new stylist start. And to kind of like welcome a new stylist to the family, it's like, all right, I'm gonna make you something for your station. Like, she's sitting there looking at the countertops I did, like it looks like a big raw slab of tiger's eye. And then the refreshment nook over in the corner, like I had to build this little tiny nook because this tiny little space, and we somehow have 3 chairs in that salon. It's only like 600 square feet. Like, it's very well designed and compact. So when I built the little refreshment nook, like into the corner, my wife wanted a Labradorite look. And so that was a bit of a process to figure out how to do Labradorite, because if you're familiar with that stone, there's a lot of like color shifting in it, and a lot of depth, and like perfect striations, right? Not the easiest thing to do with epoxy. It's really not. I've seen very few examples of Labradorite in epoxy that like I think is like really, really good. And I don't necessarily include myself in that one. I'm very critical of my own work. Ileana Savita Art has posted one before that is like, it's nice. And she was able to do it in like 1 layer of resin. Like I prefer to have 3, because again, it's just playing with that depth of field, you know, or field of depth. So back to this, sorry. I'm going to make sure to take my ADHD medication today. That's going to be whenever we hit our first break. I apologize. So even though this is getting covered up with micas, like this is a good example right here. Do you see this color, that creamy tone versus that creamy tone? Mm-hmm. The main difference there is that is white underneath, and this is from the different color breakup we did on these. So I showed them a few different versions. You can use spray paint. Beautiful. Oh. Yeah, we've got, you can use inks in your resin, right? As long as it's not like heavy water base. Like India inks are good to go, right? It's like India ink.
Like, oh, made from India.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I think it just become like a name for a certain type.
So
like, I'm not really sure what's called India ink.
India inks.
Mm-hmm. So, you know the boot brand Doc Martens?
Yeah. Oh, Doc Martens. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the things he did before boots. Here, I'll hold this up. Some secret sauce. Not only is this some secret sauce, you can find this like Joann Fabrics, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, a craft store, and even some like mom and pop type like scrapbooking stores and stuff like that will have like a calligraphy section or scrapbooking section, right? And they usually have some kind of ink, because this is used in all different kinds of art. So these, I mean, like you get this great range of color. They're very, very pigmented. Like it's hard to make something like truly opaque with it, but like you have to use very little to let it change the color of your resin and still have that translucency to it. And by building up your layers and focusing on like keeping that translucence, that's what's going to give you that depth.
Let's do red and black. What do you think? What do you think?
You're doing something a little bit different?
What do you think about that?
So yeah, all right. let's focus on the color breakup first. Like I said, if you want to do a different color scheme from this, like no problem. It'd be kind of a cool example anyway to just show some more. Can you possibly text Corey and see if he has an ETA for the other student that's showing up? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. These, you don't necessarily have to suspend in epoxy, right? You wouldn't want to leave it just exposed on the top of the surface, because even though that this, like you guys saw yesterday, you used this ink on this, and then we solvent wiped, and it didn't spread everywhere or anything. Like this stuff's like very much stable, but you would always want to, if it's on the surface, you want to seal it. You don't want to leave it just exposed to use. So even this stuff, this is FW. You can come onto a board and literally just start kind of like mapping out. Like not only are you mapping out like your movement and flow, like again, this is kind of like color blocking. Because when it goes all the way down in and bounces out, the areas that you have that dark undertone to it, again, it just automatically, it gives you a variance in your micas. And it just, you can see the fact that it's underneath. So automatically the brain goes, this is something that's deep, even though it's not. It's 1/16 of an inch, So here, I will give you that.
So, is this?
Different brand, same thing.
Man, that's so cool.
And I mean, these are relatively affordable. This kit, this is a little bit pricier because like it has such a variety in it. I believe those run at like $42, but usually these big bottles like so, I mean, I keep them on hand. Like as I dig through my personal stuff that I brought, I find more and more of these. Like the secret sauce, man, like, and it's readily available everywhere. And what's great about this is like, whenever you're looking at these different India inks and like calligraphy inks and everything, you can look and see, is it water-based? Like, what is it, You don't want to put anything too water-based in your resin while it's active, right? You want to avoid that. It doesn't like moisture. But you can sit there and read, this is for calligraphy, airbrushes, and pens. It is made from the finest pigments. It is light, fast, and archival. That means with UV exposure, it's not going to fade. The color that it lays down is going to stay that.
So you'll do this. So we do a design with the India ink over the Zinzer. That's a funny word.
Yeah, right.
And then
and it doesn't just have to be India ink. I mean, like also this right here, this is it's literally just more acrylic. This stuff is watered down because it wants to penetrate and get down into the surface, right? This stuff is thicker because you're literally using it to like seal paintings or like give a variance of sheen. They also have like the pouring medium, like as people do the acrylic pours.
Yeah.
It's just acrylic. Like in this, like you can put this down and it dries, and then I always like to, if possible, get the matte, because like if you get that down and then once it's like tacky dry, like dry to the touch, you can run resin over it and it'll just bite right on. Like it's good to go. If it's glossy, you want to let it dry. It's still pretty quick, and at least scuff it with that 220 just to get that bite to it.
I was really gonna ask you that, like how, because you're fan behind it, but like, it's just a natural kind of question to wonder how it would bite to that, because it's not biting to the surface, it's gonna bite to
luckily
the Zinzer.
Luckily with being able to keep laying down layers and have that recoat window. Like some people will say that a recoat window is not to be trusted and that you can't do it. I do it regularly and have yet to have a single problem with it. If I feel like it might be pushing that recoat window, I don't take the chance. That's when I'll scuff and let everything do its, its curing, and then continue on with the
I trust
process.
the data. I think even when they give you a recoat window, I think even they being a little bit liberal with it.
Yeah, that's like how they put like expiration dates on like canned food that will be good forever, Like you have to put an expiration date on it.
So Corey said he was an add-on, so you don't have to really wait on
Okay,
anything.
all right, sweet.
So, you want me to do my best Madden Wolf impression?
Yeah. Let's see some veining. Actually, it was pretty cool yesterday seeing how everybody, translated veins from their head to the canvas. It's pretty cool.
Can I see that right there? The acrylic.
Yeah.
So did you use those two blue inks right there? Using that countertop over there?
Yes. Yep. No, that's the teal. Actually, no, because that one's teal, that one's aqua. That leans heavy into the green. But I do have I have a few different blues that I use. Some of them are the Doc Martens, and then some of them are a brand called Speedball.
Are you pushing it out like as you do it? I was like, how the hell did you get like if you did like one length line?
You know what? I haven't really paid attention to it. Yeah, more than likely just a light pressure, because I squeeze it before I open it. Yep, and then I'm giving it a light pressure as I draw it along. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So something good. If your style calls for doing natural looks and like veining and stuff like that, you always want to have a reference, right? Like after you've done something so many times, it kind of gets like written into like the neural pathways of your hand and body, right? Like it gets written in. Like you can do it on autopilot because that muscle memory is there. I spent so much time painting like maquettes and little busts and toy designing stuff, and then also special effects makeup, where it's veining. It's veining. There's veining. Guess what? This project has veining. Oh, this lady's sick. She's turning into a zombie. Guess what? Veining. Like it's just a bunch of veins again and again and again. So there reaches a point where it's like it's just kind of written in, and like you don't really have to have like reference. Although if like somebody wants a specific stone, I still go and look at it and like see how that veining forms, because all of these happen for different reasons as these stones are being formed, So based on what stone it is, like I might have to modify my veining a little bit, and in that case, like I will have a visual reference as I'm doing it. Like one of the key parts of being an artist that can grow and constantly evolve is never feeling like you're too good for reference. Like it doesn't matter if you are a master at something. Like you think about like NBA players, right? Like when they go to the championship, people think, oh cool, like those guys don't work hard whenever they're done with the game. No, man, those guys are going and practicing 2 times a day, and they're grinding through the basics again and again and again, because it is the foundation of you being able to move with purpose and intent, and knowing that you're got a plan as you're moving. You don't want to have a shaky foundation of the basics. Like you have to have it. So like that practicing and that just like constant wanting to look at more and more reference, like it's a good thing to have, I mean, even as I like there was a point where as a sculptor I was so experienced that I did this for years. I had this little piece of clay, this little ball, and every night I would sit there, warm it up in my hand, and then I would just speed sculpt a character, like a head, and just try to keep the proportions in and everything. And it was like I tried to keep it under a certain amount of time. Like I gave myself like an hour to just like mess with it. Then whatever I had after an hour, I would sit there, I would look at it, I would judge it harshly, and then I would squish it. And it's like I did this so many times where it's like you get hundreds of hours into a piece, and then like if it's not up to standard, guess what? An artist always has more in their trash bin than they do their portfolio. At least a good one.
Correct.
At least a good one. Like
That's correct.
everything is not a masterpiece, and I mean technically you don't even get to assign the word masterpiece to your own work. That's put on by other people.
I hate everything I do.
Yeah, same. That's what
That's
makes
just
you
like,
good.
I
Like
just have no whenever I do something, I always see the mistakes. I don't
Yep.
see.
That's all you see is the mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there reaches a point where it's like if
Where
you're
can I
always
grow better?
satisfied, then you become complacent and gross. Like you don't care because you're doing good enough, and that's when stagnation happens. And like every action in life, it's like you're tending to a garden. You got to keep pulling those weeds, and if you start slowing down and not pushing for like that next level, your garden is growing weeds and it will choke out your abundant crop really quick. Like, you can't let those weeds take hold. You just got to keep trying. Like, look, people regularly, like, and this is awkward. I cringe every time I hear it. People are like, dude, you're one of the best doing this. And I'm like, I just go, thank you. I'm like, because I don't think so. There's people that I look at their work and I'm like, that's perfect. Like, it is fantastic. Ileana's one of those. I never see a piece from Ileana where I'm like, what was she doing there? Like, every time it is uniquely hers and it is visually impressive. She nails it every damn time. I feel like, well, actually, I kind of trained myself to just run through looks before I actually mix up resin and ever put anything down. I spend a lot of time just running through, I call it the chess match in my head. I keep playing it over and over and over again. If I break it down this way and I do this with this mica, this ink, this, and it's like I'm not really even paying attention to what's around me. Like, I'm purely in my head and I'm standing in my workspace and I see myself doing these steps. And it's like I run through what I think will give me the result I want. And you have to be very critical of like what you're actually able to accomplish and what the materials can do, which people have a problem with. They don't like to be critical of what their abilities actually are. So some people, I mean, honestly, some people don't even have an imagination, as weird as that is to say. That's something Justin and I talked about last night, where there is a certain portion of the population that cannot conjure an apple. Like, if I look at you and say, close your eyes and imagine an apple, like, you can either get it to the point where you are holding that apple in your metaphysical hand and like you can see the color breakup on it, you can see that little bit of a soft spot, you can see that stem, you can twist it off, you can smell it, like I can taste it, I can visualize every bit of it, and it is graphic, it is vivid. Like, I can live in this imagination space and be fine because it's awesome, right? A lot of people can't do that. Like, they hear, hey, think of an apple, and it's almost like a line drawing of an apple. And from there, it just degrades more and more to where there's a certain number of the population that visually they can't conjure anything. Like, there is literally nothing going on in imagination land. It got condemned years ago and it never opened back up. It is just barren in there. It's wild. So like, when you're dealing with clients too, this is something that I used to say, that clients don't actually know what they want, they just know what they don't want whenever you give it to them. They can't really say the words that conveys what they're seeing in their head or expecting. So it's really good to, like, even, we talked about this yesterday, like when a client says like, oh, I want these colors, don't just go, oh, okay, yeah, purple, orange, this, like, no. Send me examples. I will bring you a color wheel. I want you to touch the tone that is what you see, because you don't know if that person's colorblind. They might not know if they're colorblind. Their rods and cones might be completely different. When you look at a color, like you see a gray purple, like a periwinkle, right? They might just see straight up gray. They might not see the periwinkle color at all. It might just be straight gray. So like, it's always good to have like that same, we're on the same page. We know exactly what you want, you know?
Window into their mind.
Yeah, exactly. And there was points where I would sit there and like, whenever I'm sure Corey's gotten used to me doing it. If I'm describing a space or like how I'm gonna lay something out, it is very animated because I'm literally walking around in that space in my mind, and I draw a bunch, and I'm like, oh, so this would start here and would go over here, and it would be out from like, it would be like this depth, and because visually I see it. Like, I already see it in the space. It's kind of like how now they have those, you know, AR like goggles, or like, was it augmented reality, where like even artists are putting these things on, and they can have like a focal point on a wall, and literally have the line drawing of what they're going to be painting in the goggles. Like, it has that fixed point. So even if you're doing this, that line drawing, it stays on that plane. I mean, like, it's in real time, it moves, so you can walk up to the wall and then start just tracing what's there, and it's not even really there, it's the augmented reality. it's like I live with that all the time. That's just like the base program for my head, you know? It's literally, I see these images in my head, and if I can see them, I can probably figure it out. Like
That would be great to stick a customer's head in one of those. Like, here it is. This is what it looks like.
Actually, I've
You know what I mean?
I've been thinking about that. That's
Yeah.
actually why I got the I got a Microsoft Surface like a few
like
years
it,
back,
you know?
so I could like literally pretty much take their space, put it in like what's it called, SketchUp? I forget what it's called. It's like an architectural program where you can build spaces and then you can actually render it as like a 3D image that you can walk around in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like, cause what I do now is like, some people use you know, digital programs and they paint, you know, in like a program with a pen on a pad, you know, a tablet. I'm more analog. Like I just go get the sketchbook and I take some acrylics and I water them down almost like watercolors, and I just speed design stuff.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? And then at that point, like you can take a visual example to your client and say like, this is what I'm seeing. And it like cuts out a bunch of guesswork, because nothing's worse than cranking away like sample after sample, color sample after color sample. Oh, not this mic, that's not it. Oh, no, this look, that's not it. You get into picky clients, it can go on forever. So the quickest way to do it is like, show me on this color wheel what colors you want, and show me examples. Like go out there and find, like if it's a real world stone or if it's like one of those AI images, just find something to give me an example of what you're seeing. So that way everybody can be on the same page and you can just nail it down. Because really, like, the way that I'm going to be teaching you guys to do this is from the very beginning, like these aren't boards, this is a canvas. That includes these. This is not a floor, this is a big blank canvas waiting to happen. This is a piece of art. And so you can look at a space, like, you know, this space, for example, there's two different ways people are going to be approaching it if they're coming from the outside, right? They're either going to be coming up through this racetrack right there, or they're going to be coming from right here. If anybody's coming from here, they're already familiar with the space. We're not trying to impress them. We're trying to impress new people walking into the space, right? So you would look at this space and think of it like a canvas. What is the focal point? So like, as you stand here and look, you have these two black forms that almost kind of create a frame. So naturally your eyes are going right through the middle of this white floor into this wall where we have some of Ileana and Veronica's work. So like this, the combination of this area of the floor in the middle, which is like that visual center, and then this is your focal point. You want to make that visually interesting, and you want to have everything on the floor complement the fact that it is supposed to be the primary focus. And you can actually lead people. Like you can, like I was saying earlier, I'm sure people remember when COVID first happened and everybody put the little arrows down in the store, right? Yeah. Did you ever pay attention to how many people were following the arrows? It was a lot of people. It was most people, because people love being told what to do. Like they do. It feels good. People need it. It's odd. I don't understand it, but it's a thing. So if you can take this visual information and guide them to an action, like I designed a floor for a dispensary in New York, right? And it's a multimedia, 4,000 square feet. It's big, big, big. Like straight, stark white chunks of overlay. Then it's like breaking open to black resin with like fire running through it. Yeah. King's House of Fire. So like when you walk into that dispensary, because like when Walter, the owner, first started talking to me about it, he really drove home like the experience of the customers, and he wants to like cater to a culture that's not being really catered to. Yeah. The thing about running a dispensary is you are guaranteed to have a clientele list. It sells itself. So if you don't really care about the customer's experience, you're just gonna pop open your dispensary, you've got some display cases, there's a screen to order, there's the desk to pick it up, get on out. Walter has his space set up as like an experience. From the time you walk in and you see the contrast between that white, that black base, that bright fire tone, right? It visually takes your attention, and you look, and it literally takes the line of sight right down diagonally to the other corner on the opposite end. And so like as you walk through and the room opens up more, like he has I believe it's a 67 Chevelle sitting there, like is in the store. We put it in there through a window. It was pretty cool. And that's like a little visual feast if you like hot rods and cars and everything. And then again, this fire motion and like the actual like texture of the overlay itself, it has like a directional swoopy kind of appeal to it. Like I was thinking smoke, wispy smoke, So like subconsciously putting just this like wispy, smoky kind of look in the white overlay, again, it just visually, it guides you through this space, and it takes you, as you walk in, you see the Chevelle, there's this big giant mural on the back wall that's absolutely nuts, it's beautiful. And that's another like focal point, and the floor guides you to that. And as it's taking you into this space, suddenly you're in the retail space and you're not even thinking like, oh, I'm walking to this, you're just taking it in. You're like, whoa, and then you stop and you're surrounded by all of the product. And then again, as you start taking the space back in, the same visual guide that brings you here will guide you right back to the checkout counter for you to grab your stuff and walk out. So it guides the person through subconsciously. Like when I was explaining this to Walter, he was like, man, I was like, I love laying out spaces like this because these are functional spaces. Like every space that we have is serving a function, right? So make it subconsciously guide your customer through that function. It makes sense. So approaching anything that you're coding, like a canvas, like really changes the whole idea to your approach. More often than not, it's a customer wants a floor, you want to pour a pretty metallic, they say these colors, you say okay, you pour it and that's that. And that's fine. There's absolutely a market for that. But taking this approach of what's the focal point? Like what do you want the visual interesting place to be? How are you going to accent that interest, right? Like how are you going to balance to have that be like the focal point and then the rest of the points not being as loud and trying to grab your attention? That's balance, contrast. You could call it composition, right? So doing that will have you just leagues above the average installer. And we're talking like, even like if you're looking at a space and you're thinking like, oh, they want a metallic, right? They want blue and silver, like blue base with like kind of silver wispy stuff going over it, right? All right, blue, dark, silver, light. Blue, even if it's metallic, it's not going to be reflecting as much as a silver. But silver is obviously your pop, it's the visual pop, right? So you want to see the space and think, where's the focal point in this room? Like where are they going to be putting their attention the most? Usually in a living room, it's the TV, right? So there you go. Now you know your focal point, and you can literally, even if you're just dropping a metallic that's just pushing it around, you can put this certain movement in it and lay your colors in a way where you do get that flow, right? But then that flow leads into that pop, that visual interest, and then fades back out. And literally just having even your swoops a certain way, it's that Fibonacci sequence, that like golden spiral. Like naturally our brains love it. And you see it everywhere, like everything from like an embryo, like growing in the womb, to a seashell, to the way a hurricane forms. It's like you have this energy. It's like an energetic expression unfolding, It is like the very language of our existence. So if you can put these curves and these movements into it, your brain automatically just goes, I like this. And also, I'm sure there's been times where all of you have seen somebody's work and you look at it and you're like, yeah, technically it's good, right? But I don't like it. It almost makes me angry for some reason. Yeah, it's because something's off. Some point should be a little bit different. And then your brain will see it and it's like, oh, okay. But whenever it's like that uncanny valley, Like when they take dead actors and they bring them back in movies, and it's like, you're sitting there watching it on screen and like, you're thinking, man, how many artists did it take to do this? How many hours of like work, rendering did this take? And why is it bothering me so bad? Because it doesn't look quite right. It's not the actor. You didn't nail it. Something's off. So therefore, the brain, seeing something that's almost there, just gets pissed. So you want to keep that flow and like that focal point in mind, you know? And again, like you can use it as visual information to take people through a space. Back
You
to
like it?
this.
Huh?
So,
Uh-oh.
all right. Let's see. Here, let's bring this over here.
Like over there.
Kick me out, Nathan, like, that was cool.
So, ooh, that's my bad. So this veining through here, like this swoopy kind of motion, you don't often see that in veins. It's more jagged, because like when pressure is hitting these stones to create these formations, it's not rolling it. Like there are certain, you know, stones out there that have like that more round shape to the veining, but more often than not, it's like that staggered, think lightning. Lightning appears like it's curving out and doing all this, but it's all like straight, jagged lines that are creating that motion. So instead of having like that swoop, it's almost like you have to have that, like it's got to be jagged. Think cracks in a sidewalk, parking lots that have been baking in the sun for years. You get this like certain crack formation. The circulatory system of the human body, like the veins like in the eye is a great example. Like that pattern is like shown to us again and again and again in nature. And it's really easy to like not take it in. But after this conversation, I can almost guarantee there's going to be times where you're sitting there and you're looking at like certain cracks and something going like, oh yeah, I'm going to remember that. Like that looks good, you know? You kind of create that like reference library in your head. And every artist definitely has like their own flavor to it. Like people can usually tell if a piece is mine just based on the veining, because like it has like a unique flow to it that is mine. And it's like my fingerprint. So every artist has a fingerprint in their style, you know? So this will absolutely show up whenever we run resin over top. Obviously, if we're going with like black or like something really dark, you're not going to see it as much. This works really well for lighter tones, right? And also you can kind of have a visual map for how you're wanting to lay things out. And even though we're talking about countertops right now, technically, everything that I'm saying here can be modified slightly and applied to a floor. Like you can still put all that visual information, that color breakup, that kind of map to it. Like when I'm doing a mixed media, I literally put these tape points on the space and I back up and I try to take it in and it's like, okay, no, this needs to be right about here. And once I feel like I got it pretty close, I take a chalk marker and I just walk and I just connect all my points. And I step back. And it's like, all right, no, this point needs to be a little bit further over here. So I go and move that point, erase the chalk, reconnect things, and I just fine tune it until I see where I want everything laid in. And then I go through and I key it into the concrete. Like I cut through the resin to the slab and I create a channel along the edge of my design. So it's like at that point, everything gets a little bit easier because you're essentially coloring in the lines, right? So even whenever you're masking out to like do your beach coat, like your quartz broadcast for your overlay to go over, right? Instead of having to take the time to tear and move tape all along all of these edges, you can just use wider tape, zip, zip, follow, right? And you overlap a little bit on that channel, and then you just take a razor blade and drag it in the channel. You pull up the excess tape, and you've masked off, and you took half the amount of time that you would take if you were going around with only tape and not having that channel. So every step after that, you have that line to help guide your process. And it makes like taking care of so much of these like intricate steps, like whenever you have to like go and like kind of finish the edge, you know, like you have to, usually you have to sit there and chase it over like the quartz, you know, you put it back on the quartz where it needs to be so it really has hold. And it's like you're just following this edge that's kind of occurring naturally along that quartz, right? Well, instead, you can just have that channel and take a 5-in-1 tool, which is probably over there. You know that like kind of hook side, like that point? You can just drag that in that channel whenever your overlay's kicking off and curing and it becomes almost kind of like rubbery state. You can just, and then whoop, comes right up. So then like your edge, even like finishing out your edge, is just easy because you have that defined channel, right? I even do that in countertops sometimes. Like there's certain stuff, especially if I have like a bookend or like butterfly cut that I'm replicating, I'll take one side and I'll do a design, dial it in, I transfer it mirrored on the other one, and once I have it like pretty close, you know, because like whenever you cut stone like that in butterfly, it's never exact, you know, but it's pretty close. So I get like all that visual information established, and then I'll like cut it in like a Dremel. And I'll literally like, if I'm doing something, do you know that blue and white piece, the two little countertops? It's like really shimmery, iridescent, like fractal blue, and then like this like milky kind of white veining, and it has like gold pops in it. Pow, 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 pow. So this one, let's see, what's the quickest way to get it? That one.
Oh.
So the start of this was literally going in and carving in those shapes for the white to contrast the white from the blue. And then having those hard channels like that, I was able to pour the sections independently and build up the layers. It's like altogether, I think there's a total of four layers on this. And every time, like as I'm building up, I went through certain steps on the white section. I got it to a point. I went over to the blue, also built up the blue, got it to a point. They're pretty much almost there. Then I started pouring layers together, where it's like I'm connecting all that visual information with like breakup and like that wispy kind of white stuff. I know, it's a completely different approach.
So you did your carving and then put the white in that, and then you poured them separate, like you did the blue separate, and then you just flooded that, and then what was the other? So I'm trying to think.
And then, you know, just at a certain point, it's like you're working with the white by itself, you're working with the blue by itself. The couple of layers after those two were done, it just kind of melds the looks and makes it cohesive. So like in that case, like those flood coats were mostly, there was some hand painting the white veins in between the layers. And then I would take white dye or white mica and make it like really translucent, milky kind of look. And I would go over that white, and like there's lots of like gold flake in it too. And I'd kind of like create like a frame around that gold flake with like a clear section where you can see down into it. So like that gold looks like it's like set down in the stone. And you have like this real wispy stuff on top of it that you can absolutely see through. So it just gives this depth. Epoxy donkey are like ogres or onions or something. It has layers. That's the point. Like visually interesting epoxy has layers. You can absolutely accomplish crazy stuff with just one, but I personally believe, and this counts for floors too, and when possible, I push for it, but I understand some people's budget doesn't allow it. A flood coat is always good. Like you want to give that buffer between your money coat, however many layers, whether it be one or whether it be 8, you want some kind of buffer between the outside world and where that work starts. So if anything happens and if that layer gets marred, it's no big deal. It's only clear. It's not actually taking any of like the visual information that is like your money code. Anywho, here, we're gonna get this in, and then I'm gonna take a very quick break and take my my medication so I don't behave like a squirrel. There we go. Ow. So this is how you can do some really quick visual breakup. Let's see, actually I feel like, all right, this is a unique situation. So we can actually have one main vein going like this, and this can be fracture coming up to it. So we will was give me a really defined fan there for a second. There we go. So like you don't want to put it like on it, right? You want to hold it back just that little bit. See how you're starting to get like a fine point, like where it's like more defined and then like it gets more airy as it's away from it. So I mean, you can literally take exactly this and actually map out the movement that you're going to put in your countertop. Not only does it give you a visual reference to follow, so like nothing's worse than being like towards the end of a pour and you have lost something that you were so dead set on having, you know? And it's like, where did it go? Just keep that visual information there, and it's like you have a guide. It just becomes part of the actual design itself instead of like an accent point or something like that. So this, yes. What time is it now?
12:30.
All right, well, I mean, about 15 minutes, we can do that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you can take one piece, and there's so many different areas that you can flip and invert, and you can keep these like this pattern, this shape formation really quickly. And like there's no you trying to make that shape look natural. Like just by using different areas and different sides of this, it just happens. So then you reach a point where you have kind of a map going, right? Here we're going to define this just a little bit more. Where did that brown make it off to? Aha. So like in this case, let's go. Whenever you're doing your veining, you don't want your hand too steady or moving too smoothly. What I say yesterday is like if you were watching Michael J. Fox give you an autograph, that's how you want your hand to move. Like, but I mean, like it literally it works, you know. Like, all right, if you have a soft spot for Michael J. Fox, which I get, imagine too much caffeine, or like too amped up, you know, like that trembly hand.
Just so you know, Madden, I'm taking full credit for this, by the way.
That's fine. No worries.
Yeah.
Please do. So at this point, by putting this like more hard, jagged line in it, it's already kind of knocking down that curve. See, it's still taking, it you know, it's following that curve that you put in there, but it's just making it more jagged and like broken up, less smooth.
As soon as you like said something, and then my brain went to, that doesn't look right.
Yep. The brain just knows that, like, dude, that subconscious viewer that you have in your head, it is super critical. And it doesn't always know what is off, but like it will let you know without a doubt something's not right. So at this point, we could technically go ahead and pour. I mean, if we're gonna be breaking in 15, yeah, you know what? We can knock this out pretty quick.
Let's do it.
All right, so what we are going to do here, cups. Man, cups. I need to see if I can get a runner, because we need more disposable cups.
He's got something right here.
Hey, Matt, if you need me to, man, I can go make a run and get materials. I mean, I do work there, you know, so.
That's right, yeah. Sweet, thank you.
I can go run and
yeah, I mean,
do whatever you
And
need.
here's the
Oh,
other
thank you.
cup.
If you could, actually here, I think I have the card anyway.
Yeah.
Just disposable cups. They can be paper, plastic, just not like the red Solo cups.
Not a red solo.
Yeah, you want the bottom of it to not have too much of like a rim. You want it kind of flat
Flat,
on the bottom.
okay.
So
Where'd
that
you
way
get
you're not,
those ones at? Like Dollar Tree or something?
like Dollar General, I'm pretty
Dollar
sure.
General,
Yeah. Grab like a decent bit.
yeah. Good packing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like maybe 120, because we will go through them.
I got you. You need more mixing sticks? We got popsicle sticks?
We should be good on sticks, I do believe. Where is it?
Sorry, man, I don't mean to be coming in your
Oh,
bed.
it's all good. This is the guest room when I'm here. Oh, where is my wallet? Come on. Nope. Nope. Where did you go?
You had long hair, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, I saw a podcast, and I was like, I swear it's the same guy. I was like, yeah, there's your name right there.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to switch it up.
Yeah, good for you. And commitment.
It's like every so many years, I have this point where I go, I need to reset.
Yeah, shave it off. It's good for the mind, man. It does
It is.
something. I buzzed my head not that long
Absolutely.
ago when I was racing. It just put me back and just cleared my head up. And I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people kind of identify like hair with like a very defining character trait sometimes,
Yeah.
which is funny because it's literally just something that happens on top of your head.
Byproduct of
There is no character trait to your hair. So it's good every so often to just strip it off, you know?
Is there a pen or anything? Or just
No.
credit card is running?
No. Yeah, and just be sure to hold on to the receipt.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Cups, no sticks, nothing.
Yeah, we should be good on sticks. Should be.
Gloves, we got gloves.
Yeah, we got gloves, just lots of cups.
Oh,
Beautiful. Thanks, man.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
okay.
All right. How's that doing? Boom, boom. We are going to formulate some colors.
Formulation.
So in this case, actually here, let me do this right here. All of these are based off, look, I dialed in, man, maybe 3 years ago now. They wanted like warm, like neutral, but leaning into warm tones that are just natural, earthy, you know? And they kept showing me examples of like these big, beautiful chunks, these slabs that were predominantly just like a beige kind of creamy tone, and then had some interesting brown veining on it. So I was like, all right, that's the goal. I ran a few different samples for them. Some people swear by not doing samples. I disagree. It's something good to, again, get your client and you on the same page, because using words to translate an image that you have is not always the best way to do it. You have to be a very efficient, you know, orator.
You said people don't think you should do samples?
A lot of people don't. A lot of people
because they don't think you might not be able to replicate.
Yeah,
what-
that's usually the big thing, is like people have trouble replicating that same look. And I mean, you think about it, like a lot of the times it's, you know, if you're doing a sample board in your own workspace, you take the time to make sure it's level, you know. You go into a client's home, maybe the house is not level. Like that happens often, that stuff settles. So like that countertop might just be a little bit higher on one end and there's just a slope to it. So it's like you go into that setting thinking, all right, I know what I'm gonna do, but like you did that look on a flat surface. So you have to be pretty quick-witted and good with your hands and your movement to like really fight against that and keep everything in that place. Because once you have that skating happen, like it just changes the look, you know, like it changes it a lot too. Like that's how like, you know, a lot of people go in and they drop a metallic in a garage and it's like, that looks crazy, wow. It's like, yeah, the slope did most of the work. Like you put the epoxy there and it just, it just does its thing, you know? So whenever I formulate colors, I love taking a mica. So in this case, that main creamy kind of tone is Mother of Pearl from Bulletproof. So we are going to do 2 mixes of this, right? One is going to be just mica. The other is going to be mica and just a little bit of brown dye. And what that's going to do is, like, whenever you have colorants together, you know, that starts creating reactions. It's the polarities of these pigments fighting against each other, right? That's where you get like that weird lacing and stuff. It's like you have something that is literally pushing it away, but it's trying to hold on to itself, because everything is like creating chains. It all wants to find a home, hold on, and find more friends until it stops moving. So that's how you take like a dye or an ink, and then you swipe it over, you know, a metallic, and like you get that selling, you get that reaction from it. And because it's a liquid, more often than not, like there is an oil aspect to these, right? So like it just naturally wants to sit on top of the surface. Naturally, it wants to sit over. And what's crazy is, like, this is a good example. So that that mother of pearl, if you look, so if you look in there, and then right here, you see the finer mica on this. The heavier mica is like what's visually giving you that color information, right? So you look here, it's like a creamy beige. You look here, it's like a silver iridescent, like it's not cream, right? That's because that's the finer micron. It floats easier. This is all heavier, it wants to sink. So whenever you agitate your jar, wait a minute, open it up, you'll be able to see what your down flop or up flop is going to be, the accent color that the mica contains, right? So that, whenever you start pouring, all of this stuff, whereas you move around and let the light hit this, you can see like all of these spots where it's like, it looks like there's depth and definition to those. And those are there because this finer mica wants to sit at the top of the surface, and then you're passing your brown through, especially the one with the ink included, and that ink is displacing this iridescent fine shimmery mica and is creating that definition naturally, because that is displacing that. So it's pushing it together, but that mica still wants to be where it was, so it crowds up and it creates those ridges that gives you like all that depth. And because it's sitting up on top and then the other mica is heavier, is on the bottom, with one layer you can get a lot of visual depth. Like whenever you pick micas, a lot of suppliers will have like technical data sheets on them that'll tell you what components are used to synthesize it. Also like a micron size, you know, will say like it's from this to this. And when you see that this to this, that's when you know some of it's light, some of it's heavy. It's going to sit in that resin at different places, and that's going to give you that visual depth. It's not true depth. You think about it, it's really thin, but like even just having that shimmery displacement right there, it just gives it a look to where it just automatically it has that depth to it. Oh, again, I should probably tell the live viewers, I had some contamination. So unfortunately, we all had some of this like push away, these fish eyes, which I don't really mind in a class because sometimes that happens in a real world situation. It's good to know how to fix it. So in this case, being a countertop, we'll make sure to hit that with sandpaper, like down in there, give it a good solvent wipe, and then whatever contamination, I do believe it was in this kit because that kit had been opened previously for training. And when stuff gets moved around and handled by different people, you never know. So we are going to do 1 mica, 2 mica, So we take, this is, we're only gonna mix up, this overkill too. This is just easiest on our cups. We're gonna mix up 8 ounces for this. It's always good to have more material and not end up needing it versus needing more material and having to create it on the spot, especially while something's curing. So like I totally get being frugal and like making sure you don't have like, you know, ounces and ounces and ounces just sitting and curing in cups. But like if you have like a ½ ounce, an ounce left over, whatever, like it's fine, you know. That little bit of waste is worth the peace of mind knowing that if you need that material, it's there. like, and you can just use it. So we take a decent little dollop, let's say about yay much. That's maybe what, a teaspoon roughly. Now this is like loosey-goosey. Like if I'm really dialing something in, I keep a record of like how many, like I use a dram cup and I get ounces. How many ounces of this am I using? 2 ounces of this. So that way, whenever you nail the look and somebody's like, I want that, you have the formula written down and you can replicate it. What's great is the Mach 1 is very, very much, pretty much right on par with that single shot. Like it being a flooring epoxy has some slightly different attributes, but like the base resin is the same. Just like the full auto is a deep pour resin. Like the same resin that was used in like the river tables, that's the base resin for the full auto. Like this casting resin for the river tables is very viscous, right? And it's supposed to be to create like that penetration like down into the wood. Like you want to have like a very viscous and a nice open working time so it bites into what it needs to bite into. So you use that base resin as your full auto, it's viscous and it gives you a good work time. So this, for this, we're actually going to be switching over to single shot just because, well, it's open and it's pretty much the same thing as Mach 1 in this case. So when we are doing a lighter mica, I usually like to double it up. So that's 2, roughly about a tablespoon, and then this one is going to get 1. And let's see which one is this. That's the burnt umber. I like this brown more. It's good to usually have these in a squeeze, like, you know, little dropper. But for right now, I'm kind of just winging it a little bit. We need like 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So then next, we have some, it's just brown. Now, that will easily overpower that lighter color. So we're only doing like 1 tablespoon of that. And then we're also going to have just a tiny little bit right there. And this one is going to have a decent bit of this ink. Now, whenever you get into liquid colorants, most of them will slow your work time down a little bit. Like you'll extend it a little bit, especially like the pods that Bulletproof carries, like, you know, the dye. Mm-hmm. That stuff definitely extends. If you use a full jar and like say MRAP, then you notice about like 10, 12, 15 in some settings, like more minutes of work time. Yeah. Well, it's like the liquid is like integrating with the liquid, you know, more so than whenever you're putting a mica in there. The mica is not necessarily integrating with it on that level. It's just being suspended in it. So like this is chemical reaction. You got the chains are trying to form. It can reach around the micas pretty quick, but the liquid is like in the way, like it is integrated into the epoxy. So that's why if you use too much liquid pigment, you can inhibit your cure. You can go overboard and it won't cure because you just interrupted that chain that's trying to form that much. So like you always want to be sure to like, you don't, like the average rule of thumb is 10% by volume. You don't want to overstep that with dye, right? You want to keep it pretty on point because nothing's worse than being almost done with a pour and just sitting there going, why is it still running? That shouldn't be running like that. That's why you do a really wild test at home whenever it's not, you know, on a customer's property. Do your mad scientist thing and like really try to see how far you can push the materials. So we are going to be using single shot.
Is single shot and Mach 1 very similar?
The same base resin for the Mach 1 is the base resin for single shot.
For countertops, would you rather use single shot or Mach 1?
really they behave very similar. Like they're very much like on par with each other. So I mean, like they're kind of interchangeable. Like these attributes are slightly different because there's certain qualities you want on a floor resin versus a countertop resin, but like the base resin itself is like it's the same thing, right? And your colorants behave generally the same way. Like you might notice a little bit of difference, but there's some resins where, like, say you use one brand, right, and you get used to what you can do with that brand, and then you switch to another brand and you try to use the same techniques and it doesn't work because it's just a different carrier, you know, it's a different composition. Like you got to think of all the different things that get added into these, like defoamers. I'm sure there's like stabilizers and stuff, like especially for like the UV inhibitors and stuff like that. It's all different formulations. So even though it's the same general resin, little different. Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Hell yeah. All right, just
Hopefully they work.
pack them up right up there. I'm going to get a bucket so we're not sitting here trying to tip those over again and again. Yes. Beautiful. Actually, here, before we mix up resin, we're gonna take a lunch real quick. It's actually a good stopping point. So everybody wanna slam